Here's something that'll mess with your head. The Great Pyramid of Giza was the tallest structure on Earth for 3,800 years. Not 300. Not 800. 3,800 years. It wasn't surpassed until Lincoln Cathedral was built in England in 1311 AD. Think about that for a second. The people who built the pyramids were closer in time to watching Cleopatra than Cleopatra was to watching us land on the moon. When the pyramids were already ancient history, humans hadn't even figured out how to make steel yet. And here's the part that keeps engineers up at night. We're still not exactly sure how they did it. We've got theories, we've got evidence, we've got some pretty educated guesses. But the complete, definitive answer? We don't have it. Not entirely. 2.5 million stone blocks, some weighing as much as 80 tons, moved without wheels, without iron tools, without machinery, without computers, without cranes, fitted together so precisely that you can't slide a piece of paper between them, aligned to true north with stunning accuracy, 4,500 years ago. Today, we're going deep into one of humanity's greatest mysteries. How did ancient people with basic tools accomplish something that would challenge us even today? What techniques did they use? What secrets have we discovered? And what does it tell us about what humans are really capable of? Let's figure this out. First, let's talk about just how insane this achievement actually was. Because most people don't realize the full scope of what we're dealing with here. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built for Pharaoh Khufu around 25 and 60 BCE, originally stood 481 feet tall. That's a 40-story building, made of solid stone, without any modern technology. It contains approximately 2.3 million stone blocks. The average block weighs about 2.5 tons. That's 5,000 pounds, the weight of a large pickup truck. Now imagine moving 2 million of them. But it gets crazier. The blocks used in the king's chamber? Some of those weigh 50 to 80 tons. That's 160,000 pounds. That's heavier than a loaded semi-truck. And they're not at ground level. They're halfway up the pyramid, hundreds of feet in the air. The base of the pyramid covers 13 acres. That's about 10 football fields. And it's almost perfectly level. We're talking about a deviation of less than an inch across the entire base. Try doing that in your backyard with a shovel and see how it goes. The sides are aligned to the cardinal directions, north, south, east, west, with incredible precision. The accuracy is within 1/15 of a degree. How did they do that without compasses, without GPS, without satellites? The stones are fitted together with joints so tight that you literally cannot fit a knife blade between them in many places. No mortar. Just stone on stone, and it stayed together for 45 centuries through earthquakes, weathering, and time. And here's what really gets me. According to ancient Greek historian Herodotus, it took 20 years to build. Let's do some math. 2.3 million blocks divided by 20 years. That's 115,000 blocks per year. Divide that by 365 days, that's over 300 blocks per day. Divide that by a 10-hour workday, and you get one block placed every 2 minutes. Every 2 minutes for 20 years straight. That's not just building something. That's running a massive, complex, precision construction operation that would impress modern project managers. So how the hell did they do it? Let's start with what we know for sure, because there's actually quite a bit of solid evidence that people ignore when they jump straight to conspiracy theories. We know who built them. And it wasn't aliens. It wasn't slaves either, despite what Hollywood tells you. Archaeological evidence discovered in the 1990s found workers' villages near the pyramids. These weren't slave quarters. These were organized communities with bakeries, breweries, medical facilities, and even what looks like workers, compensation for injuries. The workers were Egyptian citizens, probably farmers who worked on the pyramids during the flood season when their fields were underwater anyway. It was basically a national employment project. They were paid in food, mostly bread and beer, and they were proud of their work. We found graffiti inside the pyramids, work gang names, things like Friends of Khufu and Drunkards of Menkaure. These weren't enslaved people. These were organized crews who took pride in their work and gave themselves team names like modern construction crews. We also know where the stones came from. Most of the blocks came from quarries right near the pyramids. You can still see the quarries today. The limestone was local. The granite for the inner chambers came from Aswan, about 500 miles south, transported on boats down the Nile. We found the tools they used: copper chisels, stone hammers called dolerite pounders, wooden sledges, rope made from papyrus. These tools exist. We found thousands of them. We've even found evidence of the construction process: unfinished pyramids, failed pyramids like the bent pyramid where they changed the angle halfway through, abandoned blocks with tool marks still visible showing exactly how they worked. So we've got the who, the where, and the what. The question is the how. Theory number 1, and probably the most accepted: ramps. The basic idea is simple. You can't lift a 2-ton block straight up, but you can drag it up a gentle slope. Build a ramp, drag the blocks up, and gradually raise the pyramid layer by layer. French architect Jean-Pierre Houdin has spent years developing a detailed theory that the Egyptians used a combination of external and internal ramps. The external ramp would be used for the bottom third of the pyramid, then a spiral internal ramp inside the pyramid itself would be used to reach the higher levels. There's actually evidence for this. Thermal scanning of the Great Pyramid has revealed temperature anomalies that suggest internal structures. Microgravity scans have detected density variations consistent with internal ramps or chambers we haven't found yet. The math works. A ramp with a grade of about 8%, manageable for workers pulling sledges, could definitely work. We know the Egyptians used ramps for other construction projects. But here's the problem. A ramp big enough to reach the top of the Great Pyramid would require more material than the pyramid itself. And we haven't found clear evidence of where all that ramp material went after construction. Some researchers think they recycled it, used the ramp material for other projects. Others think the ramps were much smaller and more creative than we imagine. It's a good theory, but it's not complete. Theory number 2, water power. This one is wild, and recent evidence actually supports it. In 2014, physicist Daniel Bond from the University of Amsterdam proved something fascinating. If you wet sand before dragging something heavy across it, the friction is reduced by up to 50%. You literally need half as many people to pull the same weight. And guess what? Ancient Egyptian artwork shows workers pouring water in front of sledges carrying massive stones. We thought it was ceremonial. Turns out it might have been engineering. But it goes further. Some researchers think the Egyptians used water in even more sophisticated ways. There's evidence of a now dry canal system around Giza. Some theories suggest they used locks and water channels to float stones part of the way, dramatically reducing the work needed. There's even a theory that they built a water shaft inside the pyramid itself and floated the massive granite blocks up using buoyancy. Sound crazy? There's actually evidence of water erosion inside some shafts in the Great Pyramid. The Egyptians were masters of managing the Nile floods. They understood water engineering. Using water as a construction tool isn't that far-fetched. Theory number 3, levers and counterweights. The ancient Greek historian Herodotus, writing 2,000 years after the pyramids were built, claimed the Egyptians used machines made of short wooden planks to lift the stones from level to level. For centuries, people dismissed this as fantasy, but some modern engineers have taken another look and realized Herodotus might have been onto something. Using simple wooden cranes, levers, and counterweights, small teams can lift incredibly heavy objects. It's basic physics. Give me a lever long enough and a place to stand, and I can move the world, as Archimedes supposedly said. Experiments have shown that a team of just a few people using wooden levers and stone fulcrums can lift and position multi-ton blocks with surprising precision. No advanced technology needed. Just understanding of leverage and careful technique. The Egyptians were absolutely smart enough to figure this out. We know they used levers in other contexts. Scaling it up for pyramid construction makes sense. Here's what's really interesting. The answer is probably all of the above. Modern researchers increasingly think the Egyptians didn't use just one technique. They used a combination of methods depending on what they were doing. Dragging blocks up ramps for the bulk of the work, using water to reduce friction and possibly to transport stones, employing levers and counterweights for precision placement and for moving the truly massive blocks, using internal ramps for the upper levels. Different problems required different solutions, and the Egyptians were excellent problem solvers. Recent excavations have found evidence that supports this multi-method approach. Tool marks on different blocks show different techniques. Some blocks were clearly dragged. Others show evidence of being lifted. Let's talk about something most people don't consider: the organizational achievement. Building the pyramids wasn't just a construction challenge. It was a logistical nightmare that required coordination on a scale humanity had never attempted before. You need to feed and house thousands of workers for decades. That means a constant supply of food, water, and beer. It means bakeries producing thousands of loaves daily. It means managing supply chains from across Egypt. You need to quarry, transport, and place 300 stones per day. That means coordinating quarry teams, transport teams, and placement teams, all working in perfect sync. It means quality control to ensure the blocks are the right size and shape. It means having a clear plan and the ability to communicate that plan to hundreds or thousands of workers. You need specialized teams: quarry workers, stone haulers, masons, engineers who understand the mathematics, surveyors who can maintain the alignment, artists who carve and decorate, administrators who keep records and manage resources. This required writing, mathematics, engineering knowledge, management skills, and social organization that was incredibly advanced. In some ways, the organizational achievement is even more impressive than the physical one. The Egyptians didn't just figure out how to move heavy rocks. They figured out how to organize a massive, complex, decades-long project requiring the coordinated effort of an entire society. That's not primitive. That's sophisticated as hell. Now let's address the elephant in the room: the alien theories. Look, I get it. The pyramids are so impressive that it's tempting to think ancient humans couldn't have done it alone. It feels impossible. But here's the thing. Thinking aliens built the pyramids is actually insulting to ancient Egyptians. It's saying, this is too sophisticated for ancient brown people to have accomplished, so it must have been beings from space. That's not just wrong, it's borderline racist. The ancient Egyptians were human beings just as smart as we are. Their brains were identical to ours. They had the same cognitive abilities, the same creativity, the same problem-solving skills. What they didn't have was our accumulated knowledge and technology. But they had something we often lack: time, patience, resources dedicated to a single project, and a unified cultural purpose. Every single mystery about the pyramids that alien theorists point to has been explained or is being actively researched with promising results. The precision? Careful measurement and patient work. The alignment? Astronomical observation and simple tools. The heavy blocks? Clever engineering and lots of people. We don't need aliens. We just need to give ancient humans the credit they deserve. Here's what we've learned in just the last 20 years that's changed our understanding completely. In 2013, a team discovered a papyrus diary written by Merer, an overseer during Khufu's reign. It's the only first-hand account we have from someone actually involved in pyramid construction. Merer describes transporting limestone from Tura to Giza using boats on the Nile and a sophisticated canal system. He details the organization, the timing, the logistics. It confirms much of what we suspected and reveals new details about the massive supply chain operation. Ground-penetrating radar and thermal imaging have revealed hidden structures, possible ramps, and chambers we never knew existed. There's likely much more inside the pyramids we haven't discovered yet. Experimental archaeology, actually trying to replicate ancient techniques, has shown that many things we thought were impossible are actually just difficult. Teams have successfully moved multi-ton blocks using only ancient tools and methods. The more we learn, the less mysterious it becomes. Not less impressive, less mysterious. There's a difference. But here's what we still don't know, and it's important to be honest about this. We don't have a complete step-by-step blueprint. We don't know exactly which combination of techniques was used for every aspect of construction. We don't know all the mathematical formulas they used, though we've figured out some. We don't know how they achieved some of the most precise aspects. The King's Chamber granite blocks are fitted together with such precision that the joints are nearly invisible. How? We have theories, but no definitive answer. We don't know what all the internal structures are for. There are shafts and chambers whose purpose we still debate. And honestly, there might be some techniques they used that we simply haven't thought of yet. Some clever solution that was obvious to them but hasn't occurred to modern researchers. The pyramids still hold secrets. But that's what makes this fascinating. We're still learning, still discovering, still being amazed by what ancient humans accomplished. So what's the real answer to how the Egyptians built the pyramids? Hard work, incredible organization, clever engineering. Lots of people working together toward a common goal for a long time. An understanding of mathematics and astronomy, creative problem solving, and patience beyond what our modern instant gratification society can easily comprehend. They built the pyramids the same way we built the Hoover Dam, the same way we built the interstate highway system, the same way we built the International Space Station. With human ingenuity, determination, and cooperation, the pyramids aren't evidence that ancient people were primitive and needed outside help. They're evidence that ancient people were sophisticated, intelligent, and capable of astonishing achievements when they put their minds to it. And maybe that's the real lesson here. We look at the pyramids and think, that's impossible. But it's not impossible. It's difficult. There's a huge difference. What else are we calling impossible today that's actually just difficult? What could we accomplish if we had the same long-term vision, the same willingness to commit resources and effort to a single ambitious project, the same patience to work on something for decades? The pyramids are still standing 45 centuries later. What are we building today that will last that long? That's the question that really keeps me up at night. If this deep dive into one of history's greatest engineering achievements blew your mind, smash that subscribe button right now. We tackle the biggest mysteries, the most fascinating stories, and the moments in history that changed everything. New videos every week that will make you see the ancient world in a completely new way. Drop a comment and tell me, what do you think was the most impressive part of pyramid construction? What modern project comes closest to matching this achievement? I'm genuinely curious what you think, and I read every single comment. The ancient world wasn't primitive, it was incredible. Let's remember that together.